Now, one of my incorrect predictions last year is I thought that last year was going to be a terrible flu vaccine because by then, at least here in Florida, most people by last winter time were kind of returning to normal life and normal exposures, etc. Not fully, but it was there. And we were wrong. So is it possible that the prediction is going to be wrong again this year? I've heard that they are expecting this to be a bad flu season. 2 questions. Do you take a flu vaccine? And do you have any personal guidance for this year's flu vaccine? Okay. So I have an interesting history with influenza. Now, back in medical school, when, we're talking about early 90s, certainly all of the residents, all the med students, had, and also residents when we were at the hospital, we had to take flu shots. So it was one of those things. So this is well before I had my holistic inclinations and learning and things that I had taken many times and I had no problem with. Now, as the years went on, I did start to think maybe I don't need to take a vaccine. But what has happened is twice in the past decade, I've caught influenza. My body does not play well with that viruses. I handle almost every other virus amazingly well. It's rare that I'm sick for more than a day. It's rare that I'm running fevers. But I don't know what it is about this particular category, this family of viruses, influenza. I have gotten twice encephalopathic from it, where literally I'm not able to think properly. It feels as if my brain is on fire. I've lost hearing from it. I have had ringing in my ears that have lasted for a long, long time. I have had not just sweating from when I had a fever. I've gone weeks afterwards where I'll just start breaking out in a sweat. This happened with me once when I was with a patient, and the patient's like, "Are you okay?" I mean, like a fire hydrant, just like literally just pouring off of me. And I have literally had to be out of the office for up to 2 weeks before for this. So for my own person, when I assessed the potential risk versus benefit, the potential of how bad I felt, and as well as, being out of the office for up to 2 weeks and not being able to take care of people, for my own personal body, I've assessed that the benefit of this vaccine outweighs the risk. So I have taken it of more recent in the past decade. Now, as far as this particular flu vaccine, so as you may know, this is all a bunch of guesswork, educated guesswork, but they try to predict which strains will be in circulation based upon what happened the year before, as well as based upon what happened in the Southern Hemisphere 6 months prior, where their winter is our summer and vice versa. Now, of course, we saw very little influenza last year, as well as the year before. That's because people were taking different measures, whether they were wearing masks or staying home, or of course during the quarantine, or when schools were closed. So there wasn't nearly the same amount of germs being passed along. And so we didn't see that. So part of the reason why it's felt that this could be a bad flu season is that very few people have had influenza in the past couple of years. Now, one of my incorrect predictions last year is I thought that last year was going to be a terrible flu vaccine because by then, at least here in Florida, most people by last winter time were kind of returning to normal life and normal exposures, etc. Not fully, but it was there. And we were wrong. So is it possible that the prediction is going to be wrong again this year? Certainly possible. We have no way of doing that. No crystal balls to predict the future. But, just understanding basic virology, you would expect that this is going to rear its head. There have been some communities, not really here in Florida, but there have been some communities starting to see influenza a little early so far this year. And that does not predict what's going to happen going forward. It's not going to predict what's going to happen here in Florida for those of us who live here. But in terms of any guidance for this, there's no way I can tell you, how likely is it going to work for people, keeping in mind that although the immune support protocol didn't work for me for this, and having good vitamin D levels did not work for me for this. If you look at the research clearly does indicate that having optimized vitamin D levels and zinc levels, and of course, I'll still always put a plug in for our immune support protocol that we have on our Patreon account that I've posted on previous videos before, that, of course, in our useful info section for our patients, that for most people, they do perfectly fine with it. I've seen this work great for my kids, and they haven't been vaccinated for influenza. So, Yeah, so it's going to be individual thing, but as of right now, though, for me at least, asking the question about me, will I take one this year? I probably will be taking one this year, just because I can't go through another event like I've had before.
Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. We release new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday.